This is Wretched Radio with Todd Friel.
The gospel is about us. White fragility? This is Wretched Radio. We are seeing a cultural movement that has seeped its way into the church, and if we're not careful, we won't see it encroaching on important theologies, what the church has to offer to the world. We ourselves could get swept away by it. Not only will it corrupt the culture, but it can corrupt your church, cause division in the body, and it will diminish the glory of God, who is the one who says, I want unity, and I can bring it about through my Son, the Lord Jesus Christ. Critical theory, white fragility, the social justice movement, the anti-racism movement is the opposite of the unifying message of the gospel. Don't let it into your church. It's going to cause division. Maybe it is already. And that is precisely its intended goal. And that is why we want to keep it out, not because we have a desire to be racist, not because we have a desire to not deal with any injustices that may exist in our culture, but because we don't want the gospel of Jesus Christ corrupted. And that's exactly what it's doing. And far too many evangelicals are promoting anti-biblical ideologies, motivated rightly. I believe that. Perhaps a lot of it is being swept up by the cultural movement in this massive trend that is taking place right in front of our very eyes. And we have to reject it. And we need to be careful. This is just staggering to me. It's just everywhere. I'm looking at my desk, and it's like all this white stuff. I mean, gentlemen, how long have we been doing this together? 15 years, give or take, right?
Yes.
Something like that? Okay. Have we, over the years, until like recently, spent this much time talking about white news? I mean,
because it's just so omnipresent that we just don't even notice it because we're racist.
Yes,
look,
sorry.
What color is all that paper in front of you?
That's not my point. But I get your point. But my point is, this just isn't a lens that we've ever been looking through. Okay. Rolling Stone writer claims the term pro-life is tied to racism. Huh? Why am I dealing with this dopiness? Okay, this is a major international influential magazine. Rolling Stones claims pro-life is tied to racism. What? Here's the details. A senior writer claims that the term pro-life is tied to racism and misogyny and feels that the movement is, quote, killing us. There's some irony. The term should be canceled. Quote, the point cannot be emphasized enough or too often. The moniker pro-life, so often used in the service of not just misogyny but also racism, should be retired right along with Aunt Jemima and the Redskins team name. Wow. The division. Now, just on that front alone, if this movement is about dividing, because it is, that's the end game in this, is divide and crumble the current systems. That is the goal. This really, y'all, as best I see it, is not really about skin colors. That's something we're happy to talk about from a biblical perspective. That's really not the agenda here. This is all about dividing. This is not about unifying. This article, he was responding to a tweet from the Reverend Dr. William J. Barber II. Nice. Who somehow tied corporate greed and white political power to the pro-life movement. Quote, ironically, the governors most willing to watch their citizens die are the ones who have used pro-life rhetoric to compel people of faith to support the narrow interests of corporate greed and white political power. COVID has revealed how the pro-life movement is killing us. Okay. This is the way the world is seeing things. This is your neighbor. This is the harvest field. You going to straighten out this knuckleheadery? Really? Do we really think that rhetoric is going to fix what is so profoundly broken? We needed something a little bit more supernatural. In the meantime, the Smithsonian, hard work and nuclear family are signs of whiteness. Did you know that? That's right. Whiteness and the normalization of white racial identity in America has created a culture where non-white persons are seen as inferior or abnormal. This was published at the National Museum of African American History and Culture. Aspects of whiteness and white culture included in an emphasis on the scientific method, which involves objective, rational, linear thinking, cause and effect relationships, and quantitative emphasis, are all white concepts. This is staggering to me. This is staggering. Ideas or ideologies, concepts, I'll even say a system that through centuries and by applying the Bible to these ideas that have demonstrated themselves to be good are now labeled as white and are therefore bad. Are you tracking with your new normal? Here's what they're saying. These things that you and I look at and say, oh, these are good for human flourishing. These are biblical ideas. So ideas like family units being intact, that's a biblical thing. That's a good thing. No, that's a white thing. Therefore, we, like Black Lives Matter states, want to do away with the nuclear Western family because it's attached to whiteness. That's what we're having to work with when we're talking to somebody. I do not know a way to reason with this. I don't know a way. If nothing else, this should be bringing us to the end of our Christian rope and causing us to say, look, this whole conversation is an impossible conversation to have. Rutgers now, they want to stop having grammatical rules being enforced to identify with the black community. Did you catch that? Here's the assumption, and this should offend every black person on the planet. Black people don't use grammar correctly, consistently. Therefore, to accommodate that, we are not going to be giving a red mark to somebody who uses improper grammar. Why? Because good grammar is a white thing.
Really?
Rutgers. Go ahead. Go talk to the dean and just reason with him, her. Go fix that. You can't do it. Furthermore, I find this to me is just staggeringly offensive. Black people can't use good grammar? What? But there is a theme here, by the way. So objective, rational, linear thinking, that's a white idea. Very bad, according to the Smithsonian Museum. It's all white. Cause and effect relationships, that's a white idea. Quantitative emphasis, very bad, because that's a white thing. Other aspects of whiteness include planning for the future, delayed gratification, valuation of time as a commodity, decision-making, self-reliance, and politeness. That is according to the Smithsonian Museum in Washington, D.C., called the National Museum of African American History and Culture.
Those are white constructs.
That is correct, sir.
From
the museum warned that the dominance of white culture in America leads to an internalized racial superiority for those who adhere to it, and said a key stop to ending racism is for white people to acknowledge their white racial identity and its privileges. This is getting to closer to the bullseye here. Because if indeed it's true that Marxism is lurking in the bushes and the design is to tear down all cultures and systems, how do you do that? You make sure that all the current systems are identified as bad. And it is being done under the guise of They're all racist, which we all recognize is bad. Therefore, all of the systems are bad. This is about culture. Because if you don't have something that holds a culture together, you don't have a culture. If you don't have a language, think Tyndale and Luther. What did they do for Western civilization? Among other things, they codified the English and the German language, and it advanced their nations. Rutgers wants to do what? If having a common language brings a nation together and causes flourishing, what will having a disparate language do? It'll bring corruption. That's what we're seeing. I find it offensive, sad, duplicitous, and anti-biblical, and illogical to the point that if we as Christians think that we can join this somehow and kind of work with it, we're fools. And if we think that we can reason somebody out of what is entirely unreasonable, we also are fools. And the only thing that people need that will change their thinking is that when their believing is changed, they need the gospel. And until tomorrow, go serve your king. Good evening, my fellow totally depraved Americans.